Welcome to this talk all about Student Finance Wales. My name is Sally and I'm the Regional South Wales Officer for the University of Reading. These few slides are a quick look at what money is available to help pay for university, and this presentation is about 15 minutes long, so you only have the key points to take away. We recommend that you also familiarise yourself with the Student Finance Wales website in addition to this talk. So in the next few slides, I'm going to talk about what student finance is, how does it work, and what can you expect to receive, and a bit about the repayment process as well. Okay, so where to begin? Well, to understand what student finance is, we first need to look at why there's a need for student finance. So there are costs involved with continuing your education. University tuition isn't free like schooling is, and things like teaching and learning facilities, lecturers, resources, they all cost probably a lot more than you might think. So regardless of how much it actually costs to put on your course, the government put a maximum cap on the amount that universities can charge for an undergraduate course at university. For this year, that cap is set at £9,790. So yes, the education you receive will need paying for, and we'll get to that in a minute. That's the cost of the education itself. And then as well as this, you also need to consider other factors simultaneously. So you might move away from home for university, in which case you'll need somewhere to live and you'll need to pay for this. You might need money for the bus, money for the train. If someone at home isn't cooking for you, you'll need money to pay for food, pay for your bills, any extra learning materials that you may need. And if you like having a social life, you'll need money in your pocket for meals out, cinema trips, that kind of thing too. It's also a good idea to allocate some money for things like going to the gym or joining sports clubs too. So then when students start thinking about all these costs, what we get is, well, I'm not sure if I can actually afford to go to university. Well, the good news is that you actually don't need any of this money at all up front if you would like to go to university. Now, we are talking about thousands of pounds, but luckily, grants and loans make sure that no student is unable to go to university because of financial reasons, and that's because of something called student finance, which is available to help full-time students with their tuition fees and also with their living costs. So what is student finance then? Well, it's kind of split into two. So student finance is the name given to kind of the whole package that's available. Half of this package is to pay for your tuition fees, and half of that package you can claim for your living costs while living away. So your tuition fees is obviously that maximum cap to pay for your university education, and the living costs is everything that you'll need to get by whilst you're living at university. So if we look at tuition fees to start with, how does that all work? Well, when you apply for student finance, this is the borrowed money that you're going to use to pay for your tuition fees. It's not Wales dependent, and it's also not dependent on your household income. If you would like to get the maximum amount of money available in terms of the student finance package to pay for your tuition fees in full, that is an option to you. Now, you can't accidentally spend this money on a foreign holiday or anything like that. This money goes straight to the university that you choose to enrol at. So money goes straight to the institution that you enrol at. And on the other side of student finance, we need to pay for your living costs. So this is made up of two things, partly your maintenance loan and partly something called the Welsh Government Learning Grant. And that would be because you're a Welsh student having been living in Wales for at least 3 years. So the maintenance loan is borrowed money to help you pay for your everyday expenses while at university. And the Welsh Government Learning Grant is free money that you'll never have to pay back, which makes up a proportion of your spending money while away at university. Now, this is the money that lands in your bank account, and you can choose to spend this on what you would like. Now, obviously, a majority of that money will go on accommodation, rent, and food. So just be aware that this is going to pay for a sort of basic standard of living whilst away at university. So there are quite a lot of figures on this table. We're just going to hone in on those kind of big big statement figures just for now, and then we'll zoom in on the table in a little bit. There's 3 columns here. So one column for students living away from home but outside of London, one column for students who choose to stay living with their parents, and final column if you live away from home but study inside London. We're going to just focus really on this left-hand side of the table. So if you were to come to Reading, you'd be a student living away from home but outside of London. And the total amount of spending money you can expect to receive as part of your Student Finance Wales package is £12,590 per year. These costs vary depending on, obviously, if you're a student living at home, you get slightly less. If you're a student living in London, you get slightly more. So that large figure, it's made up of 2 things, partly your loan and then partly the Welsh Government Learning Grant. Now there's a minimum of £1,020 available from the Welsh Government that you never have to pay back, and that's for all eligible students who are coming from Wales. Now there's additional grants based on your household income, and it works like a sliding scale. So here is the left-hand side of the table, just zoomed in a little bit more so you can see it. So there's that headline figure on the right. The total amount that you're spending money for a year at university from the Student Finance Wales package would be that £12,590 per year. Okay, it works like a sliding scale. So if we look at the grant money, you can see the minimum amount available from the Welsh Government sitting at the bottom there. So £1,020 per year. Okay, so that's for the highest earning background families. So if you're earning £59,200 or over in your household, then the grant money you can expect to receive would be that minimum value of £1,020. And then it's like a sliding scale, as I say. So as the family income reduces, you can see as it goes up the table there, the amount of free money or grant money from the Welsh Government goes up. So if you're from a lower income family, if you're looking at £18,370 a year or less, your grant money, your free money from the Welsh Government is going to be up at £8,260. Now, in terms of how much loan you then get, so to get up to that £12,590 total spending money for the year, we're then going to add on to that grant money the remainder of the value through loan. So as your grant kind of increases, your loan decreases. So if you're at that maximum Welsh Government Learning Grant value of £8,260, then your loan is going to be the minimum loan value, which is £4,330 that you'd have to pay back after university. The opposite is true if you're from a higher earning background. So for example, if you get that minimum grant of £1,020, you still get that to take away as free money, but you're going to have proportionally more loan to make up that total value of £12,590 as spending money. So then once we've talked through those figures, you might then be wondering, well, yeah, that's all well and good. So I can afford to live while I'm at university. I can afford to pay the tuition fees because that's through the student finance package. But then am I ever going to be able to afford to pay it all back again? We're talking about quite large sums of money here. Well, yes, completely valid. But luckily, the whole system is designed that it is an affordable system to help repay your student loan on the other side. So the next couple of slides, we'll just talk to you through about how that's actually going to work in practice. Yeah. So how much are you realistically likely to repay? Well, there is a threshold figure of about average salary, £28,470 per year that you need to be earning before they will take anything off you towards your student finance repayments. So until you're earning this much money, they won't take anything off you. And once you are earning that sort of threshold figure, then you repay 9% of your income that is over that figure. So once you start earning £28,470 a year, it's only on the money that you're earning over the top of that salary that will then be kind of used to work out how much your repayments are going to be. So if we're to have a look about what your monthly repayments are likely to look like, so you just come out of university, you get kind of an average or below average salaried job, you're earning £25,000. Well, you haven't yet hit that threshold, so your monthly repayments are going to be zero. After a few years, perhaps you've gone up in your salary bands, you're now earning £30,000 a year. Well, the 9% can be deducted from the amount over threshold, so in this case £1,530, which means your yearly repayment will be £127.50, and break that down into the 12 months of the year, you're looking at a rough spend of about £10 per month. Now, obviously, as your earnings go up, so would your payments, but it's to do with how much you're earning over that threshold figure. Okay, so the more you earn, the more you can afford to pay back, and the more they'll take from you. And moving on to those repayments, a few other things that you might just want to be aware of. So Student Finance Wales, it operates on Plan 2 loans, not Plan 5 like in England. So please don't go down any rabbit holes looking at Student Finance England information, because it all works very differently in Wales. Your repayments would start not immediately once you've graduated, but from the April after graduating, and that's only if your income is above that threshold figure of £28,470 per year. Deductions come straight out of your paycheck, so when you start your job, you just kind of tick a box saying that, yes, I have a student loan, and they will work out what the deductions need to be for you. You don't need to independently sort of worry about these repayments or independently kind of pay a system. It all kind of gets taken out of your pay packet, a bit like tax or national insurance. If for whatever reason while you're working, your income falls below that threshold figure, then your repayments will stop. And after 30 years, if it's the case that you haven't actually repaid the amount of money that you've borrowed, then they don't mind. They're not going to let you go old and grey worrying about your student finance package that you took when you were 18, 19, 20 years old. That balance gets written off after 30 years, regardless of how much you've paid them back. Right, so where to next? So hopefully you're finishing this talk a little wiser than when you first started, and now you have a bit more insight into Student Finance Wales. Money is a really important consideration when thinking about university, especially if you'll be moving away from home as well. So we absolutely recommend that you also have a look on the Student Finance Wales website, as they will always publish the most up-to-date information, especially as loan amounts and figures get updated around the springtime when the new application process goes live. There are a few bursaries and scholarships as well at Reading to be aware of, so I'll just sort of show those up on the screen now. Some of them are subject-specific bursaries and scholarships. We do have one here, the Global Sustainability Leaders Scholarship as well, which is our kind of headline scholarship at the moment. And that's if you're interested in sort of sustainability, protecting the future, and you want to focus in on that a little bit more in your time at university. Each of our scholars through the scheme will receive £6,000 a year for up to 4 years of full-time study as part of their course. So you can use that as free money towards your maintenance and living costs while at university. And there's a nice website, if you sort of Google search bursaries and awards, Reading University, it will come up with things like the Reading Bursary, which is to do with your household income. You can check your postcode on there and have a look at any other kind of scholarships that you might be interested in while studying. So just the last thing I wanted to draw your attention to, and that is reading.ac.uk/chat, which is a chat platform with current university students who you might just like to ask a little bit more of the nitty-gritty about how it works in practice. We do have some Welsh students at Reading, and you might like to get in touch with them about how it all works in real life. But thanks for listening, and we do wish you all the best with whatever comes next for you.